Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I've been trying to get this started for the. Yes, I know I have updates. Stop. I've been trying to get this started for the past 10 minutes, and oh boy. So I'm just going to copy and paste this to the thing. That. Okay. Yeah. Hey. Yes. So I am very excited. I've finished the hat. I unfortunately had to return the original one, so I can't do like a side by side comparison. But that would be really cool. I may have to ask Ren, the original owner of the hat, whether I can borrow it again and try to do that because that would be really neat. I should say that there are two small things that still need to be done on it. And I will, yay, hello. I will go over those as I go through the hat's construction and what I did with it. But yeah, here we go. So I'm just gonna stand up and there we go. Move this out of the way. All right, so this is the mostly finished hat. The veil is detachable. I just have it pinned on onto the back, but there we go. You can kind of see the feathers pretty good there. Just gonna put the veil down for a sec. So this is, like I said, it's mostly done. The two things that I need to do to it is that the original had, oh gosh, I'm not sure. I should really get something to get slightly better lighting. But although at least it isn't, the windows aren't washing me out this time around. But the original had a sort of silk or some kind of shiny binding along the edge, which I'm going to recreate with this. This is a either vinyl or some kind of leatherette trim, which I will sort of, this is, so, all right. So with this is a strip, essentially, of this leatherette fabric, which the long edges were folded in to hide the raw edges, and then that's folded again. So the it's, don't know how well you can see that, but it's sort of like a like sort of rolled up in there. And there's a cookie like that, but I can't remember the name of it now. But so the edge of the this is going to be sort of sandwiched around the edge of the hat, but this needs to. I forgot that I needed to do this, so I need to let this be pinned like this for a while, a day, maybe two, just so that it's more likely to stay in that position, and it'll be a little easier for me to actually sew it on. The other thing I need to do is that I need to line the inside. I have lined this part. But I need to put in a, on the original there was a sort of drawstring sort of thing. So it, oh boy, this is really hard to describe. I'm gonna post pictures on Twitter a little later. It was sort of, there's like a, oh boy, words. It's gonna be one of those days, I'm sorry. It's just a lining of silk, which I have, and should have prepared a little better for this, so I could have all the things out. But I have a silk lining that I got when I purchased the velvet that covers the pieces. Let's see, where is this thing? There you are. Right, so this is a navy blue silk that is I got on sale, and thank God for that. That is going to go on the inside of that. I just need to, it's just a matter of doing it. So yes, now this was quite a project to do, mainly because I underestimated exactly how big this was going to be. I knew that it was going to be big, but the original hat was very much, it had very much been deteriorated over time and kind of curled up along the edges instead of these sides being sort of curved down like I've done. They were curled up and pretty extremely curled up. And I don't think that that would have been a design feature in the hat. I think it was, they would have been curled because it is very hard to find hat boxes that are this big, and it was most likely curled. It was. It's one of those things where you feel very lucky to be able to handle it, but also you're kind of afraid of it. And I'm both excited and slightly not exactly enthused to say that the hat that I have decided to pair this with is also in a similar condition. So the hat itself would have been Edwardian. I, in my completely unprofessional opinion, would put it somewhere around 1908 to 1910, somewhere around there. Of course, but I don't know for sure. And Ren, the woman who owns the original hat, is not entirely sure either, other than sort of general Edwardian. But the brims on those hats were, if they were not straight, like, so if they were, I'm just gonna, so they would have been similar to this, at least from what I've seen in old photos and fashion plates and things like that. So they're, if they aren't straight out, they're slanted downwards and kind of almost conical. Not exactly conical, but like sort of slanted down in the same gradient all the way around. I've also seen pictures of hats that seem to be bent down in the back, like I've done with this, and then slightly bent down again in the front. Of course, in those pictures, it could be just that the brim of the hat isn't a perfect circle or an oval, and it just happens to be less. Oh God, I'm sorry. It would have been possibly would have been slanted back in the back, so that it would give the same sort of almost triangular silhouette to it, instead of it being absolutely round. I know that there are, as a matter of fact, I just yesterday I saw a 1940s hat, which was sort of similar to that, where the place where you put your head was much closer to the back of the brim, and so it was much more. There was much more of a sort of dramatic shape in that way, almost a halo-like effect, which would have been really cool. But also, I shouldn't buy any more hats. I'm going to, but I shouldn't. Now, if I were to do this again, there are a couple of things that I would change, and I most definitely am going to do this again because it was so much fun. I so this the brim is over 1.5 feet wide. As a matter of fact, there it is. I have a ruler here. I mean, just this is, to be honest, I just like hats in general. I think they're neat. I think it's a bit of a shame that people don't wear hats as often nowadays. I originally sort of the my sort of gateway hat was uh, there was the costumes in the movie Arsenic and Old Lace, which is late 30s, early 40s, which is the story. It stars Cary Grant, but the his co-star, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me, has the most fantastic wardrobe, and she has this beautiful, elegant sort of little hat, and I yeah, I just kind of fell in love. And when I started to get into Lovecraft and look more into Sonia, I I mean she made hats, and so I sort of was like, oh well, what were the sort of hats that she would have made? So I did some research into that, and it kind of it went from there. Oh, yes. Those are beautiful. Oh gosh. They're just I just love hats. All of them. The silk top hats, the teeny weeny little close hats of the 20s, the big giant Edwardian ones. Oh gosh, I saw a picture of an Edwardian hat which it was the the brim width was out to about here in the photo. And that's just ridiculous, but I love it. Now, if I were to make this particular hat again, I would hopefully have a better idea of how much fabric to buy. I pretty severely underestimated exactly how big this was going to be, and so I had to buy more fabric halfway through, which really slowed down how long it took to make this. Excuse me. I also, just a sort of general lack of knowledge of the products involved. I had gotten this beautiful velvet, uh, which I only ended up getting enough so that it would cover the crown of the hat, the top part, not the brim. And I because I wanted the fabric on the brim to, I didn't want there to be a visible seam on it, so I had to go out and get more. And velvet is pretty darn expensive. But I was lucky enough to find a velvet like fabric that was much cheaper, right about $6 a yard, as opposed to, say, 30 a yard, which, oh, yes. Yes, and just general in the 60s, for women too, the hats had gotten progressively smaller and smaller and smaller until they're sort of the pillbox hats of the 1950s and early 60s. And then they kind of, and after that, they didn't really, they weren't in fashion. bit of a shame that. But yes, also the fabric trim that, or the feather trim that I put around the sides is a feathers attached to a ribbon that, actually I have a little extra strip of it here. So this is the trim that went around the sides of the hat, and this was very difficult to sew through. I am not entirely sure how they make this, but I suspect that there's some sort of tape or glue involved to keep the feathers in place. And so it was because I didn't want there to be top stitching, sort of visible stitches on the hat. I hand sewed the vast majority of it, and which uh, also slowed down production pretty significantly. But it was very hard to get, and maybe I just need to get better needles, but it was very hard to get the needle through the ribbon of this and into the hat and then back out again. In hindsight, maybe I just need a thimble, but oh boy, there was that. And then now on the final finished hat, the side feathers don't lay quite as well as the top ones. The feathers on the top are individual ostrich feathers that I sort of bent into shape and sewed on, which also, again, very time consuming. Although not as much as I thought it would be, but I did still stay up until 3 in the morning on Friday, putting the feathers on, which was an experience, let me tell you. Yes, but so I may redo these side feathers and replace them with just the individual ones all the way around, because the way that they're sticking up, it's not how I want it to look. It sort of looks fuzzy instead of sleek, but we'll see. I really just there's a costume contest coming up this Saturday, which I hopefully will have found the time to do a couple of extra things along the side and the inside to do before then, because there's a prize for whoever has the best costume, and I hope I could use that. Yes, yes, it was partly the hat, and also partly I discovered a new musical, which I say new, but it's called A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. That's actually set in Edwardian times, and I was sort of looking up like sort of Edwardian costumes and things like that, and the musical came up, and I'm a sucker for musical theater. What can I say? So, but yes, so there is that. The veil is 2 layers of black mesh tulle that are just gathered at the back, and I put a stick pin in there to just make it look a little nicer, but also so that I can pin it to the back of the hat. And when the veil is on, it kind of tames those the side feathers a little bit. So when I put the veil on, I just put this I have the pin be at the where the crown and the brim meet, and then sort of let it sort of bring this around so that there's an even layer of tulle, I suppose, and sort of give it the once over, and then I just really think it's neat, and especially with the dress that I have picked out for this outfit. It's going to go really well, I think. I can quick grab that. I'm not entirely sure which era this dress is from, but it's also in a sort of halfway falling apart condition. But I do not have the time to re-sew on every single bead on this dress, or at least not right now, not before the costume contest. So, yeah, I love doing these sorts of things. It's I tried doing sewing when I was younger, and it didn't really pan out. The machine that I had was kind of not exactly up to the task, and I kind of broke it, which was the end of my sewing career at that point. Oh yeah, yeah. So if I had to guess which era this was from, I'd put it somewhere in the 1930s, mainly because of the neckline. There are similar looking Edwardian dresses from the 1910s, if I remember correctly, but they have sleeves and they don't have such a sloping neckline. This goes down to about here on me, which is really quite revealing even for the 30s. There's also a pretty big slit up the back. I love this dress. It's so beautiful, and I got it at a sale, so I got it for like $25, which I'm pretty proud of. But the only thing really wrong with it is that when I have it on and I try to move around, the beads fall off. So I have a sinking suspicion that I may need to take extensive reference photos and re-sew on all the beads onto a new mesh layer, and then take this off and put the new one on, but that is going to take maybe a year. There are so many teeny little beads and sequins, and just there has to be like 30,000 of these things on here. So, oh boy, it's going to be an undertaking, but it's going to be worth it. Oh yeah, and I have some photos of myself in it. I can't remember whether I've put them on my Twitter or not, but hell, give me one sec. Come on, this is really nice. There we go. This is also slightly awkward to wear because it goes right down to the ground, and so you kind of have a tendency to step on the hem. But I think if I find a decent pair of heels to go with it, then it will, that'll fix that. Oh boy. All right, so this, bringing our good friend Mr. Chair back here. All right. There we go. Yay. This is just beautiful and I love it. I initially thought that it was 1920s because of the sort of almost geometric designs and because of the neckline, but okay, there we go. But it's fairly form-fitting. The 1920s dresses were very much a rectangle with shoulder straps. So and this sort of hugs in at the waist a little. That's why I'm leaning more towards the 1930s because that's when that sort of style started to happen. And the length, although in the 1920s there were long dresses, they just weren't as common. Although this doesn't say old Hollywood, I don't know what does, and I love it. It also with the hat and the veil and everything also kind of says, oh, my rich older husband has died and left me all of his money. Oh no, whatever shall I do? You know, sort of, but this is going to be so much fun. But yes, I had so much fun making the dress or making the hat that I am going to be making more, and I will be sort of documenting my progress on those projects on here, whether on live streams or on various shorter videos. I'm not entirely sure right now, but I really think that this is going to be good, and I am maybe possibly going to try to sell them too. Again, not entirely sure whether that's going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot. I know that there is some demand for it because vintage hats, like true vintage, really, really old hats, are very expensive. And this hat, while it was pretty pricey to make, that was mainly because of the velvet. And that's what I was thinking of doing with Etsy. If the way I figure it, as long as I just don't use velvet, because velvet was, I want to say $25, $30 a yard. It was very expensive. And then I didn't even, the part that I used the velvet on is covered in feathers now. So, but as long as I don't do that, then they should be pretty cost effective. And it's going to be in a more decent condition than actual vintage hats. There isn't going to be any sort of risk of yellowing or broken wires, veils with holes in them, you know, that sort of a thing, because it's all new. It's just been made, and there's a tendency with vintage clothing in general, but especially I found with hats, that I have kind of a big head, and I know I'm not the only one because I was talking to someone just yesterday, talking about just sort of hats and the reproductions. There are vintage reproduction companies for clothing, but they don't really do accessories. They have bags, but they don't have hats. And so I think I may be able to do something with that, especially because so there are a lot of vintage hats floating around, but people were a lot smaller back then. They have smaller bodies, smaller heads, things like that. And I ordered a hat online, which is this cute little 1950s one. Where did I put that? There it is. And it's sort of a navy blue velvety sort of a thing, and it's supposed to go on the back of your head. But my head is too big, and when I was just holding this on, but if I do if I let it go, then it will sort of go and push itself off of my head, and there are no amount of hat pins in the world that will keep that thing on. So, uh, but I mean, that's kind of the a bit of a caveat emptor when you're shopping online, just in general. But it kind of got me to thinking, like, I can't be the only one with this problem. Uh, oh, ooh, that would be nice. Gothic and Bram Stoker. Ooh, ooh, that's a. Oh, you're cute. I love doing live streams because you guys give me so many good ideas. Oh man. Yes. Yes, definitely. Oh man. But yes, so that is my lovely hat and how I made it. And yeah. So if you guys have any questions or things like that, then I am going to change out of this back into my pajamas. But I put them in the little chat thing, and when I get back, I will answer them. Alrighty. Hey. Ooh, Morticia Adams. Yes. Oh, I love Morticia. I was going to catch the Doctor Who, but I missed it because I couldn't find a live stream that you didn't have to have a subscription to BBC America to see, and yeah, whoops. I've heard it's is really good, and I'm going to try to see whether I can't catch it some other way, possibly, maybe. But I heard that it's really good though, and I also heard that this new season is supposed to be like what the original the classic series was originally supposed to be, sort of more educational, which hopefully means more episodes set in the past, which I am all over. Oh, didn't know about Sling. Good to know. Good to know. I watch quite a few BBC shows. Well, I sort of try to watch quite a few BBC shows. Um, mainly Strictly Come Dancing and The Great British Bake Off, but with varying success. A couple of years ago, I used to be able to get onto BBC iPlayer with a British IP address, but then they caught on to people doing that, so they had you like if you were in the UK, you had to buy like a television package, and access to iPlayer was along with that. So, and I didn't have the $150 a year to shell out for that at that point. So there goes that. God, it was so good though. Ooh, Gosford Park. That sounds neat. It, I used to watch. There was a show called The History of Horror with Mark Gatiss, or Gatiss, or however you pronounce his name. That, oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy. I always love the standalone episodes. Uh, and oh man, yeah. Well, they did kind of really use the Daleks a lot last season, so a bit of a break is probably a good thing. Um, oh man, God, I liked Stephen Moffat's run, but a he kind of had a tendency to start plot threads and then not finish them and be constantly building, building, building and never paying off. And it's a little like, buddy, but oh well. I'm kind of interested to see where Chibnall is going to go with this. Ooh, I haven't seen that one. Richard III with Ian McKellen. Hmm. I'm gonna write that down actually, because I mean, Ian McKellen alone is that's enough to get me to watch something. Also, 1936 and also Shakespeare. That's oh yeah. Yeah, Moffat, I think Moffat did best when he wasn't a showrunner. When there was somebody to rein him in, then he was good. Because I mean, I really, really liked Blink and the two-parter with the gas mask zombies that Christopher Eccleston did. Those were really good, but he just needs somebody to sort of say no, no, there's none of that. No, no, just 30,000 subplots. Don't need them. You know. Yeah, that's it. The Doctor dances. I grew up on classic Doctor Who. My dad had he had caught reruns of it that well, more like reruns of the reruns. They the classic Doctor Who serials that haven't been lost, or at least haven't been lost as of say 1997, 8. Um, they were broadcast over a Chicago-based station, and my dad lived in the area at that point, so he videotaped them. He taped them off the air, and so I kind of grew up with this big giant box of cassette tapes with every single Doctor Who episode on them, and I kind of made my way through. And it was so great because there were also like Live Aid and Monty Python's Flying Circus and a couple other shows on there as well, which was really really neat. But yeah, my favorite I'd say is probably Tom Baker, because he's the first one that Tom Baker's Doctor was my introduction to Doctor Who. Oh yeah, yeah, that was a good one. Gridlock. Yeah. Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen that one. Huh. Gosh, I need to catch up again. Oh, Kirby was so good. I love that he did all his own stunts. It's just fantastic. Oh gosh, man. I'm just bringing up good memories. Oh shoot. Yeah, the first one that I saw was oh, what was that one? Oh, the Mask of the Mandragora or Mandragora or no, it was Mandragora. Um, oh, neat. Yeah, thank you. Uh, yeah, or but the Mask of the Mandragora is where the Doctor and Tom Baker's Doctor and Sarah Jane go. They go to a sort of Renaissance Italy sort of a place, but except they they make a stop off inside the time continuum because they used to do that back then, and and this sort of a ball of energy flew into the TARDIS, and they didn't realize, so they it was just kind of bouncing around in there, and they like them behind the Doctor and Sarah Jane. They didn't really seem to know it was there, and so when they arrive in Renaissance Italy, this thing kind of halfway crashes the TARDIS and it flies out. And when the Doctor and Sarah Jane get out of the TARDIS, it's uh, slightly later, if I'm remembering it correctly. It's been a while since I've seen it, but they there's some time has elapsed between when this ball of energy has gone out into Renaissance Italy and when the Doctor and Sarah Jane come out of the TARDIS. And so there's this sort of cult of people that are worshiping this ball of energy, and it like they're like sort of sacrificing people to it, and it's really creepy, but it's really really great. So I highly recommend it. I think you can find it on Daily Motion. I used to be able to see them on Daily Motion, but I can't remember whether I don't know whether they're still on there. That was back in like 2014, 2015-ish. Ah, Downton Abbey. Yes. Yes. Oh man. Yes, I got that I caught Downton Abbey when it was on PBS Masterpiece Theater. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. Oh gosh, yeah, River Song, she's great. Yeah, there's a photo floating around somewhere of me dressed as River Song back in 2012, I think. I used to have long hair that kind of looked like hers, and I had a pair of cargo pants, so I at the time, so I just went and got a sort of white leathery jacket, and it was good. Oh yeah, BritBox. Yeah, that's fairly cheap, I think. I want to say it's only around $6 or $7 a month. Um, but it's oh man, I know I still have the jacket because I wore it to an '80s themed throwback party over the summer. Gosh, where is that thing? Hang on. Yeah, well, it's somewhere in there. I can't find it, but I don't want to have too much dead air in here. But yeah, I can post the picture of that on Twitter. Gosh, that was so much fun. But yeah, I wonder if I still have those cargo pants though. Those were really comfy. Oh well. Oh yeah. Yeah, well oh heck. Let's see. Yeah, let's charge that pretty well. We're going on location, folks. Alright. Ooh. Ooh. Going over to the closet so I can keep talking while I look. There we go. This is where I have all of my hats. It's it's a bit of a problem, but who am I kidding? I'm never gonna stop. All right, let's prop this guy up. Oh boy, that's some great. That's a great shot right there. All right. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, you joke, but yeah, probably. It's a slight problem, but not terribly a problem, but still it's something anyway. I should find out how to make hat boxes, because with the especially with the new hat and also this one with the let me make this. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, this is the one with the peacock feathers on it. It's too big for the hat boxes that I have, so I may just have to make my own. I have a box of winter coats that I do need custom sizing, but oh, now the lighting wants to be good. Oh well, let's just oh, and damn, it's gone again. That's the trouble with backlighting. Oh well. Yep. I have a box of winter coats down here that I am like 90% sure it's in. But wait. No, it wasn't where I thought it would be. Never mind. Yeah. It's kind of funny we were talking about Doctor Who. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I have a replica of the Fourth Doctor's scarf that I made when I was back in high school, because I was very bored for about 3 months, and I didn't have a whole lot to do, so I just did that. It's huge. I have to wrap it. There we go. I have to wrap it 3 times around my neck, and it still trails on the ground. It's great. Yeah, yours is probably a little better than mine. Mine is I was still kind of getting the hang of crochet when I was doing it, and so there are some parts that are skinnier than other parts, and it's it's a bit of a problem. But hey, I mean, first projects and all. Talking about projects, I have I can't remember where or why I got it, but I have this sort of strip of of fake fur that is it's not big enough to be like a top of some kind, but it's too large to be hand warmers, and I think I may try to make a pillow out of that. Oh boy, that must be a thing. My mom thought I was gonna do something with my scarf as well. I had a loft bed at the time, and I had just finished it, I remember, and I had hung the scarf over the top of the loft bed, to take pictures of it to show people at school. My mom just kind of walked in and she was like, "Are you all right?" Like, "Mom, I'm just taking pictures." Oh shit. You know that doesn't really surprise me. It sounds like something he'd do. Oh, let's see. No, that's not what I okay. Yeah. Oh hell. There we go. Oh boy. What in the? Ah, there it is. Nailed it. All right, I'm gonna take this back outside where there's better lighting. Oh, lighting, the ultimate problem. All right. Well, it's kind of, but there we go. Okay. All right. One second. Alrighty. Wasn't quite as wrinkled the last time I had it out, but it zips on the side, and it's very 80s, and I love it. It's quite warm too. The only problem is that it's a cropped jacket, so I like jackets to go down a little more, especially winter ones. But them's the breaks. Yeah, me too. They're just warmer all around. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love the sort of like futuristic as thought of by somebody from 1930 sort of that sort of look, where it looks old, but also You can tell that it's supposed to look like very new, like, oh, in the year 2000, people are gonna look like this. I just love it. Oh well. I uh, I can't really decide whether it's my goal to look like that, like the future as thought of by somebody from a long time ago, or to make somebody like for me to walk down the street and for people who see me to think that they've seen a ghost. Like that's it, they're the two things. I think I did that once though. I don't believe I have read that, no. Sounds kind of familiar though. I don't think I've read those. Um, but back in August, during the Lovecraft convention, there was uh, I dressed up in my Sonia outfit, the white 1920s sort of ensemble with my little like wedding cloche sort of hat and uh, gloves, and I had white shoes and stuff too. And I walked downtown to where they were having this sort of gathering, and there was a guy who went by on a motorcycle, and he did a double take when he passed me, which I think that was like the highlight of the entire experience. Mm. Oh. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Oh, that's another thing for the list. Mom, stop trying to text me. I'm busy now. Ah, yes. Well, there's that. So yeah. Do you guys have any other questions about possible future projects or uh, how I did something about the hat? Or ooh, ooh, I haven't read that one either. Oh, that's another thing to write down. Yes, yeah. So if you guys have other sort of questions about things about the hat, about other hats that I'm going to make in the future, other projects in general, things like that, then feel free to ask. Yeah, I probably will. It's just sort of a matter of figuring out a hat to base what I want my hat to look like on. So I will most likely be looking at a whole bunch of pictures, um, uh, old movies, especially for the 30s, definitely old movies, um, pictures of just everyday people or well, and the and movie stars and famous people as well. But sort of like I think mainly the the part that I'm sort of interested in is what the average person was doing at a certain time period. So, like, with this hat, this wasn't, uh, this wouldn't have been something necessarily that somebody super, super rich was wearing. Yeah, it's got velvet and feathers and stuff on it, but it's most likely not like this was probably some grandmother's mourning hat that they went and kept in a box for like 60 years, and then it got sold to an antique store, which is how my friend Ren found it. Uh, of course, that's all speculation. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm just very sort of I love that sort of thing. So there's in the oh boy, I'm gonna start that over again, and I'm gonna finish a sentence. How about that? I so in the antique stores downtown, they have pretty much all of them have big baskets of old photographs, and I think, and they're fairly cheap too. They're like $1 each. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through those and sort of look through and try to find pictures that are they have. Yes, please. The trying to find pictures that have a decent lighting so I can sort of get a general idea of what they were wearing and possibly like the proportions of how the garment or the hat looks in proportion to the rest of their body. So like if I didn't have any proportions for this, then I'd still be able to say, well, it it's just about even with their shoulders. So like, let's see how wide is that? That's okay. So it's about like that, and then sort of go from there. Uh, I was very lucky with this because I had an actual physical hat that I could take lots of pictures and all sorts of angles and see um, really in depth with that. Well, thank you. I really like that one. I probably am going to be making another one of these because I'm going to be giving this one back to Ren, my friend, who has the original hat. She's told me that she does a sort of a talk about early 20th century fashions, and I think it'd be nice for her to sort of as a to return the favor of her letting me borrow her hat. I think I'd like to let her have this one, and so that she can. Oh, I would love to do that too. It's just a. Oh man, that would be so much fun. That would be so much fun. But I just need to. I people were so small back then. There are. Oh, so there's a store that does have, if it isn't Victorian, it's Victorian inspired. It definitely looks like a Victorian dress, and it's in an antique store, so that kind of gives that a bit of credence. It has this very high collar with the lace around it and very floor length and all of that stuff. Oh man, that would be so much fun. Yes, but it's teensy. That dress is so small, and I don't have any sort of I don't have anybody to help me put on corsets of any sort, so that kind of puts that slightly out of the question for me. Oh man. Oh yeah. Gosh, Edwardian balls. That would be so much fun. Oh man, I wonder if they have any of those in Boston. That would be, because it'd be funny if I ended up going to one of those and I took the train up to Boston in full Edwardian. That would be so great. Oh well, I have some research to do. Yeah, it's just sort of, I mean, it's a matter of finding the right dress. Because yeah, I think that I would probably be able to pull off, uh, or at least maybe be able to pull off not having to wear a corset. But then also there's the matter of finding a dress that a isn't like $300, and um, b is it fits well, because it that's kind of the trouble with buying vintage and secondhand and things like that. The especially when you get back into the turn of the century sort of times, it the clothes were very much made for you, and the clothes that I would be buying would not be made for me specifically. Um, so there's we're gonna try tilting this down just a little bit. There we go. Please don't fall over, Mr. Computer. Okay. Yeah, I may actually, since I have the sewing machine, uh I may try to find a pattern online and make it myself. Because that's sort of been my attitude toward this whole sort of for this whole sort of thing. I if I can't find something, then I try to make it, and I mean, it's worked out pretty well so far. Yeah, I have actually been trying to set up a sort of a donation page. Not exactly Patreon, but or maybe Patreon. I need to do some research into what would be best. But it, it's just it's on my to-do list, but also I've been kind of busy with the hat and with other things, and it's just sort of, oh yeah, Kofi. Oh, I actually, now that I think about it, I actually have a Kofi page. Hang on one sec. Copy and paste. And I'm not saying you have to, but I would appreciate if you, and it doesn't matter, like, I'm not like, oh, well, if you have a $25 donation, then you get access to, like, it, I wouldn't be able to do that, so I'm not gonna ask you to do that. I know how it is. Um, but yeah, that sounds fantastic. My God, it's full of nerds. Oh man, that sounds like it's right up my alley. I'm gonna have to check that out. Thank you. Oh boy. Yeah. As for Dandy Wellington, that sounds really neat too. There is. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Uh, no pressure, of course, or anything. It's just it's there if you can. You know. Um, There's a podcast that I listened to called Music from 100 Years Ago. It's hosted by a guy called Bryce Fuquay, and uh, he essentially goes through the Library of Congress recording registry and has it basically takes 7 or 8 songs and puts them all together in a podcast. And they have various themes. Like he does a Halloween show every year and a Christmas show, and he does one that's oh yeah, he does one that's 100 years ago from that year. He does it. It's the first show of the year that he does. So he's been doing a lot of World War I songs lately, but he also does like Jazz Appreciation Month and things like that. Let's see here. Aha, there it is. and he's been doing this for since about 2007 or 2006. So there are like he had a 500 500th show episode a while back. Um, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds neat. Boy, I'm getting all sorts of neat things today. Oh yeah. Oh. Talking about old things and kind of about the downtown in Providence. Guess what I found? It's a an actual Clark Ashton Smith paperback from the 70s, and I haven't gotten the time to actually read it yet, but I am so excited. This was, oh man, I I both love and hate going into bookstores because I go in and I'm like, well, if I don't find something, then I don't find something. Like it's all right. It's I don't have to spend a whole lot of money here, but then I do. I do every single time. My dad was a librarian, and it kind of got passed down to me. I see old books, and I'm just like, well, this is mine now. Yeah, I oh, oh yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I actually just filled up my bookshelf, and I've taken a couple out because I had to. There we go. That's also my lunch. Don't mind the macaroni. Uh, but I had to take out a couple books so I could prop up my computer. But I've completely filled that up, and now I'm sort of I don't know what to do now. Ah well, I'll figure it out somehow. Maybe I'll get a second bookshelf to put on top of that one. True. So true. Gosh, I love that. I've really been liking audible audiobooks too, because when I'm at work, it's very dull if there isn't something to listen to. And I actually just blew through a couple John Blair's books because the House with the Clock in Its Walls movie came out, and I had read the book when I was young, so I went and I sort of revisited it. I listened to the audiobook before I went and watched the movie, and it was great. Uh, so yeah. Ooh, WJ shows. Hmm. What's the I can try anyway to help you look for those. What does WJ stand for? NKALW? Oh, hmm. Yeah, I'm going to put that in another tab so I don't forget to do that. There we go. Uh-huh. Oh, that's neat. Hmm. actually sounds really interesting. I'm gonna look at. Oh no. Oh shit. Oh well. It, well, I've sort of been I've been thinking about trawling through the Library of Congress recordings anyhow, because I kind of want to have some sort of background music going on when I do these live streams or when I do videos in general. But I also don't want to. Well, I want to have something that's somewhat at least period appropriate, but also if I can try to get around copyright laws as much as I can, that would be fantastic too. So I'll keep an eye out for those. Yeah. Yeah, I think. Ooh, neat. Yeah, I think for my next project that I'm going to do, is apart from the dress, which I think I'm going to try to put a mesh layer over the beaded layer so that if beads come off, they don't get lost. Uh, just as a temporary fix until I can get the good to know. But until I can find some sort of permanent solution for the beading on the dress, I think I'm going to put like a mesh layer over it to catch anything if they happen to fall off. Um, but apart from that, I have a ideas anyway for a project, a sort of uh, 1800s or oh, oh yes, I was. So as it turns out with the Lovecraft shows, so I have been kind of busy and also mainly scatterbrained these past couple of weeks. So me and uh, oh god, me and Jim, we each got a copy of She Walks in Shadows, and we've sort of been working our way through that book. Um, but when we finish with that, then I'm going to scan and send the story that you sent me to Jim so that we can both talk about it, because that would be really neat, I think. Um, so. Uh, that's a long answer. Short answer, yes, eventually it's just kind of slipped my mind. I hate to say. I've been kind of scatterbrained about a lot of things lately. As long as I can remember to do the laundry on time, that's been my main goal for the past couple of weeks. Oh well, it's the things like that that you don't really think are going to be an issue when you move out. That because before I moved out to Providence, I lived in my parents' house, and I didn't really think about stuff like doing laundry because my mom would come in and take my clothes down, and she'd do it for me, and now I'm just sort of like, oh yeah, yeah, I need to do that, don't I? Oh, one of these days. Yeah, so oh yeah. Oh, I know how you feel with that. Oh gosh. I keep on losing my keys on my bed somewhere, but I just need to clean off my bed, but also like I just don't. My dad got me. My dad visited a couple weeks back, and he got me into Dark Shadows, and I've sort of been working my way through the giant backlog that's on Amazon Prime. So I like on the one hand, I've been busy, but also I need something to do other than just watch Dark Shadows all the time. Ah, well. But yeah, so I have a oh, that's not how I want to start that sentence. I've volunteered to do a uh, to do a LARP up in northern Massachusetts in early November. Yes, yes, good old Barnabas. Mm. I I have lots of feelings about that show. I love that show. But yeah, so there's a LARP group in northern Massachusetts that they are doing a sort of, it's like a horror survival ish sort of LARP. It's called Ashwick Plantation. The oh yeah, yeah. I haven't seen the movie, and now that I've seen the show, don't think that I want to see the movie. I've heard so many bad things about it. But so the name of this group is called Ashwick Plantation, and they do a horror LARP set in the 1630s in northern Massachusetts, and I volunteered to be one of the like the LARP version of an NPC uh, for one of their upcoming events, which is going to be in early November. Um, and I have as it happens, I have a sort of a dress that sort of kind of looks like it's from the right period. I can mostly cobble together like an outfit, but the only problem is that the skirt is knee length, it isn't floor length. So I think I'm going to try to make a new skirt for the dress, and that will be my next project. Oh, Dracula movies. Oh boy. So that is actually a tie between the 1931 version with the Todd Browning one, and Nosferatu, the 20s silent movie Dracula, and yes, and the Christopher Lee, that one, the horror or Hammer. Uh, oh God, what was it called? Like the Curse of Dracula or something like that. No, it wasn't that. I'm mixing that up with the Curse of Frankenstein. But yeah, just I uh, I had the very good fortune to be able to see a couple of um, Hammer films through the through actually through iPlayer when I was doing when I had access to that, uh, and so I saw the Dracula one and the Curse of Frankenstein, and there was another one which I don't believe was done by Hammer, but it's called the Quatermass Experiment, which was fantastic. Um, that was a bit earlier than the Dracula Frankenstein double feature. Uh, God, yeah. Yeah, people just can't seem to get Dracula really right nowadays. I honestly think that the 1931 version is so good because they really don't overdo things. There isn't like big technicolor gore and all of that. Like it's, I mean, and while the Hammer does have significantly more blood than the Universal Dracula, the they're like I like the understated black and white, just clean almost. I suppose you'd say. Uh, I like that version a little better. Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, it's really kind of interesting. The like because when oh boy, how do I put this? So what? Stop. And it's kind of interesting to see when people try to when they try to modernize Dracula, because it really it just sort of it dates the film like it, the there was a 70s Dracula film that is very 1970s. Like it's ridiculous how 1970s it is, but it's you can tell that they aren't trying to make it like they're trying to make it seem like, oh yes, well, and this is in modern times, but it's like, no, it's not modern. It's the 70s. Shut up. Uh, oh, Edward. So, so I was actually really into Twilight when it first came out. The yeah, I was in middle school. What can I say? Honestly, like the only really modern vampire film that I actually like is What We Do in the Shadows, directed by Taika Waititi. It's fantastic. It's it's funny. It's really funny because it yeah Twilight is kind of shit. It's yeah, but What We Do in the Shadows is great, and the like just with how they the characters interact with the modern world, I think it's fantastic. And yeah, Dracula really was perfect for that particular time period. And it was so a lot of the techniques that were used in Dracula hadn't been used before. And I mean the book. I don't know for sure about the movie, but like the sort of journal entry format of the book is sort of a the precursor to like found footage horror films now. And there was the first time that there were uh, the it wasn't a stake that killed the vampire in literature in general, but also like it, with vampires, Van Helsing uses a Bowie knife in the book, which is so cool. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, see the thing with Bram Stoker is that it kind of is a mishmash of a whole bunch of different legends. So it mainly pulls on the sort of Eastern European those Preacher is so good. I really like Preacher. Cassidy is great. God, yeah. But also in Bram Stoker's notes for Dracula is a uh, a case for that was in the newspapers. There was this woman actually in Rhode Island, in about a half-hour drive south of where I live now. Her name was Mercy Brown, and she had gotten tuberculosis and died. And then when the rest of the family got sick with tuberculosis and started dying. Instead of, like, it was before they really knew that germs were a thing, so they assumed that Mercy was coming back from the grave, and uh, coming back from the grave to get the rest of her family, and it it was that case is the one of the first recorded vampires in North America, which I think is pretty neat. Oh man, yeah, I my extent of knowledge for Preacher is the TV show, um, but I haven't actually read the comics, though it's definitely on like a to do list for me. But also like I it's there are so many other things on a to do list for me too, so it's kind of it's one of those things that like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen one of these days. Oh yeah, yeah, you know. Although I really do like the TV show, so it's going to be fun. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, especially if it's one off, because that gives me more of an excuse to actually be and be. I don't know the words, man. Oh gosh. Yeah, I haven't gotten too far in the TV show. I, I'm about halfway through season one, so I've seen a couple of clips from season two, but oh shit, that's neat. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's oh man, and especially since it I forget where I was gonna go with that. Never mind. Wait, oh my god, what? Stop. All right. Well, I hate to say that I have to cut it off here. My mom keep trying to text me, and have to I have to actually say hello and yes, I am here, and no, I haven't been kidnapped. So, alrighty. Well, I'm gonna cut her off here, but it's lovely talking with you guys and hanging out, sort of, and all of that. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming.